Hello and welcome to the Ripperhots Learning Stream number 3. Today we are going to be talking about drafting, and more drafting. I believe we have around a dozen questions, 10 to 12 questions. One or two of them are grouped together or have like follow-ups to it, so it's not a straight dozen, but close. Yeah, everyone wants to know about drafting, how to draft, what to draft, when to draft, what is drafting, what's good, what's good for us and our team specifically, all this kind of stuff. This makes a lot of sense because drafting is really key to the game, and I'm the first to say you can win with anything that's, I don't say anything, just random pick your heroes and you're going to win. Anything that has, I use the word functional win condition a lot, anything that has a win condition, you can win the game with it, even if it's super off meta. But it still has to be able to win in some capacity. And also some snazzy new intro stuff here. I can't take credit for any of this stuff. The initial animation was sniped from the BlizzCon HTC stream. We'll see if I get in trouble for that. And this fancy background here, no, here, Orphea, is the static background, of course, is from Blizzard, but then somebody animated it on Reddit through a Windows app. You can actually have this as your desktop background. It's pretty cool. So using that for now, we'll see how snazzy or not. I'll be able to get in other, future learning streams here. And last but not least, stream, of course, was pretty delayed. I was hoping to do this sometime last week, and now it's the end of this week. And just getting to it, but I've had a pretty just crazy busy time. Haven't been able to reasonably get to it. So, but here I am, better late than never. So let's hop over and get going on the questions. First one from Zaldrith, our current champion question asker, whatever you want to call it. Question: could you make a sort of guide to drafting and touch on what you need in a basic draft and the different styles you could make, make a team, maybe make a team with, such as pickup, dive, pokes, and such, and their needs? Yes, I can do that. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this stream to make it on the spot, though I could, but it would take up a lot of time. So I'm probably just going to bench this question and say, like, I'll work on it ASAP and try and get it done by the end of next week. And have that as some sort of text guide, maybe some images, maybe I show it off, reveal it here on stream, with some other pointers and what have you, some live demonstrations. Well, I say live, using the hero picker. But yes, it's a really good question. It's something I've been meaning to do anyway. So, but for the benefit of, say, you got games next week coming up, either tournament or scrim, practice, whatever you want to figure something out. I think I've said this in one of my other streams. So just start basic. Make sure your tank, your support, and your main assassin work together. Those three things. Just start there. Figure out a 1, 2, 3. I'm pretty sure anyone watching this could do that. And then layer on top of that, whether it's an extra damage dealer or a flex pick or an extra offlaner or whatever. Just like make 3 heroes work together really nicely, like really easily. And basic example of that is something like Muradin, Malfurion, Jaina. You have like the upfront stun slow, follow up root, follow up blizzard, frostbolt, whatever. Doesn't have to be Jaina, it could also just be a Rainer or Lunara or something. But ideally, you also want to be able to clear, hence the Jaina example. So, but we'll really dig into this in another stream. Maybe just make an entire stream about it. But I'll try and have that guide done. But for now. Next question: what are Diablo's needs in a team? Does he need people to dive with? If so, how many is it ideal? And what type of heroes are good for this? This is a great question. And we're going to have this follow us over to the hero picker screen. Boom. And this is going to be a reference. There, I'll just go right up there. Something like that. So there's multiple questions here. What are Diablo's needs? On a basic level, well, he doesn't really need much because he's flexible these days. Old Diablo really was just all in on dive. He was stupidly strong late game scaling post 16. You didn't really need a team anymore. That's not really true these days. It kind of can be true depending on the matchup, but really his basic needs are depending on how, first you need to identify how are you playing the Diablo. Are you playing a dive team? Are you going, a hybrid WQ build? Or some sort of even throwing a couple auto attack talents in there? Identify that first. Because that changes how, like, what his needs will be with the rest of his team or not. Because you can play him as a more traditional, just sort of bodyguard tank, where he just kind of holds the front line, sustains a bunch through, fire stomps, especially through the talents. So he doesn't need people to dive with absolutely. It's a little more map dependent, depending on how much you need to force fights or not. Excuse me. So on a map where you'll always be fighting the enemy, like Volskaya or Infernal Shrines or something like this, you can basically guarantee the enemy's coming to you at a point. So you could even wait for them to just engage, and then you try and counter-engage with them through APOC or his overpower into Shadow Charge. It's probably not his most fluid way to play the hero, and it doesn't leverage his strength of jumping at people, but it doesn't mean you can't jump at people still. So, but basically, he either does dive or he just kind of chills and sustains a bunch. Those are basically his two play styles, and identifying that if he's just chilling him with his team, he doesn't really need any dive partners, right? But if you are diving, but it's the most sensible to give him a dive partner. Let's just put it that way. It makes your life easier. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole team, just even one, maybe two. I just mentioned per the last question, make your tank, support, and assassin work together. So grab a support who follows up nicely. I like Malfurion is one of my favorites. Let's just start grabbing. Where's Big Red? Here's Big Red, as I affectionately term him. Tyrande, of course, has always been a age-old, buddy of Diablo. A little higher execution on comboing the arrow. New Brightwing is honestly pretty solid. You probably want to take extended polymorph range, though. But can also just bomb in with Diablo and then Emerald Wind or something if you need to. Kharazim, of course, always strong, but he provides no lockdown, which is why I don't like Kharazim just with Diablo. I like Kharazim when you're doing it like multiple 3-4 dive heroes. Malf, super good. We're gonna nix Kharazim. Malf's probably my preferred overall. A lot of people do like Rhaegar, of course, is nice. He's got the lunge, he's got the totem. He doesn't have a hard CC, but he has decent slow, pretty reliable. But could be unsafe for him to go in. So the ranged follow-ups is usually a little more reliable. Ana, pretty not the worst. A little wonky. Depends on your skill shots with sleep. Stukov also no. Oriel not really. Tepsidar no. Alex is good if you are a dive team. You just go cleansing flame and carpet bomb everyone while healing your team. Lucio isn't bad. Because he just boosts Diablo's inherent engage and everyone else. He can basically make your entire team a dive team when you're not. But this is more like understanding how to play Lucio and play with Lucio. A lot of people like Deckard's fine. It's just more you have to like precast his CC on the Diablo target, or it's probably gonna miss unless you're wallbanging people and then they're stunned. But if it's just like a naked combo, as in no terrain stun, chances are they're just gonna walk away and not really get hit by the Deckard CC, especially if they have any sort of mobility skill or whatever. If you're able to flip him and push him back and body block them into the Deckard CC, it's fine, but it's not my favorite, personally. I don't really like it. Diablo also likes to play fast, just inherently. Again, he doesn't have to play this way, but if you are, which is how most teams play him, you just want to look for an opportunity and just go. It's go time. And Deckard typically looks weaker unless you have setup. Unless you're setting up his potions and planning his combo CC, and obviously, you can still rip a sleep or a Lornado or whatever. Lornado APOC, Stay Wild and listen an APOC, for example, is a really, really dirty combo. So they have some nice ultimate synergy, though I'm not the biggest fan of. I just want something snappier, but that's more of a bias on how I play Diablo, and I run around looking for all these micro opportunities that I need to just capitalize on instantly. So I want more on-demand CC. Um, but Diablo Dagger do have a lot of synergy, which is amazing considering the mortal enemies in Diablo lore. So how many is ideal? I didn't really answer this question. One really is fine if you want to start throwing in some melees in there. You know, Kerrigan, Genji, of course, is always really nice. Artillery style mages. Actually, this is a question we're answering later, so I'm not going to get into it too much. Thrall's decent. Blaze, offlaner types are good. Blaze, heroes who don't mind going in. Thrall, who's like a really good flanker. Butcher, obviously, if you happen to be running Butcher. Any sort of other warrior who has some kind of mobility or engage in the offlane, if you happen to be running a Tyrael or an Anubarak or a Yrel or something, which is, well, Yrel's common, but not the others, a Blaze. Anyone who can jump in with him and just cause some extra chaos is never but you can't go wrong with that. So how many is ideal? I'd say at least one and up to 2 to 3 extra. But the support, the dive doesn't always have to be a melee, right? It can be ranged. There's ranged dive and ranged reach that oh, speaking of, he's got Diablo. Oh, and we actually have we got Kerrigan right here too. So we got some. Oh, and we also have Tyrael. So yeah, my little statues. If you want to get funky, you can throw in some Space Cow stage dive in there too. But that's getting a little unusual. But still, just make something work. I'd say give him at least one solid partner, either from range or melee, and then the rest is just kind of whatever. And the types of heroes, I think I more or less went over that. Okay, the types, people who have mobility, either melee or ranged is fine, or have long range reach. Heroes like your, long range mages and long range AA heroes, Hanzo and whatever. But we're going to go back to the questions and to the next one. DeWitt from Zul'jin Distillery. As a general rule, would you recommend drafting a second form of Engage with Garrosh? His Engage is so predictable and avoidable that it really pressures the tank to perform without other Engage options. Yes, 100% yes. You should do that. Definitely recommend it. Because, you're just making your life overly hard without it. There's no reason to make your life so hard. As I'm fond of saying, it'll make your life easier. So yes, draft another tank with reliable Engage. Otherwise, yeah, he has to work hard. Typically, he has to burn Indomitable for an Engage and stuff and silliness like that. So not ideal. Alternately, you can try and counter-engage more, especially against heroes like a Diablo or just a generally aggressive team. Basically wait for them to come to you and then flip, Warbreaker, taunt, whatever. Set it. It's, you can do that too and run that way solo. But even then, against a multi-dive team, you usually want multiple forms of counter-engage as well, not just one. So either scenario, you're benefiting from the extra engage. But yeah, if you do, the tank's just going to be frustrated all game long if you don't give him some help. So I would 100% recommend that for sure. Whatever you're comfortable with doing that. I'm a big fan of a hero like Blaze because he can both slow and stun with oil and jet propulsion. Pretty handy dandy. That's probably one of my top picks because he also slots easily into the offlane even with his mana problems these days. Who else might be solid? Considering they'll probably have to be an offlaner. I mean, Arthas, Yoritanis, Sonya not so much because she runs at people. Diva if you're feeling cool. Mal'Ganis, of course, super easy. Yrel not so much, honestly. Yeah, it's probably more of like a traditional offlaner warrior bruiser type. DeWitt again. Stitches has issues dealing with dive teams because his hook and ultimate are his only legitimate. That's spelled wrong. That's okay. There's been a couple of misspellings this stream. Legitimate peel abilities. Do you suggest sacrificing an offlaner that adds burst damage to pick up a high peel offlaner like Johanna, Arthas, or Blaze? Okay, this question's worded slightly curiously, basically saying you're implying that you would normally have a burst damage offlaner with Stitches all the time when you draft Stitches, is what I understand you to be saying. I don't think that's necessary to begin with because that burst should be in your foreman with Stitches. Because if it's in your offlaner, how is your offlaner getting the kills with the Stitches hooks? He's not with him. He's off doing offlane things. So I don't think you have to sacrifice it. But I think you should definitely consider, based on the matchup, having a reliable form of high peel. This Johanna, Arthas, Blaze, Yrel is really solid. You still can run Tyrael and he just sinks whatever, crazy dives going on. Chen, if he ever isn't terrible, though he's honestly fine if you're like a pro Chen player, has pretty strong peel with barrel because he's unstoppable and boops everyone around. Leoric isn't the worst, a little atypical. Basically, you entomb just in weird angles to trap people and stop them from going on your team. It's not really a form of engage so much as a block. But 50-second cooldown on Entomb, it's really easy, pretty easy to do. Mild cast delay though, not the worst. Thrall is really nice. Both his ults have very strong peel properties, Earthquake and Sunder. So that's always a good option. Dahaka is pretty unreliable, so wouldn't recommend. Artanis also pretty unreliable, wouldn't recommend. Mal'Ganis, fairly reliable, would recommend. But he's weird in an offlane role. He can do it quite well, but it really doesn't capitalize on his kit. So, but a consideration nonetheless. But yes, it's really matchup dependent. If they're just, if you're Stitch's team versus just a poke team or an artillery team, just some sort of sit back and throw stuff at you team, you're not really going to need that kind of peel. But you're talking about dive teams specifically. Yes, yeah, Stitch is the only sort of peel versus a dive team that super feels bad. 100% don't do it. There's wiggle room here. For example, like if you have Gul'dan on your team, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because Gul'dan Stitches is funny, like the damage isn't high enough. But then you have ults like Horrify. I guess if Falstad's around, you just take Gust. And anytime you engage isn't what you want, just Gust, and the cooldown's so low. Falstad's high enough damage to follow up on a Stitches reasonably, but no one really picks Falstad. So there's some heroes that are pretty decent with some peel, but they don't necessarily fit in, or they're just people don't play them that much. Yes, but do it. Yeah, just again, per the previous question, just make your life easier. Don't make your game so hard. Don't make it so that if you just screw up that one time, you're all wiped and the game's over, or snowballs way out of control just because you didn't have a simple defensive ability. Why put? There's no good reason to make your win condition so difficult, or make the enemy so easy, which makes yours difficult usually. I realize this is okay. Follow up comment. I realize that these situations are conditional on both teams' comps and even map. I'm just looking for a general concept discussion. Yeah, it is. It is conditional. It is map, but really, it's true. In a sense, one of the better ways to deal with Stitches is to run at him for this very reason, that he can't peel very well, barring level 20, Super Gorge, whatever it's called, where you can just eat everybody. That's pretty darn good. But outside of that, that's a level 20. You can't wait that long. So just grab, just do it. It's the same. It's too it's low risk. Sorry, it's high risk, low reward concept to play Stitches drafts this way, versus any sort of aggro. Just makes no sense. There's no payoff. There's no benefit for doing it, because they're already coming to you, and or you're hooking someone out of position, forcing them to come to you. Just draft enough damage in your 4-man, and your off-laner can be whatever you want. More defense, more offense, some hybrid, like Thrall. Thrall's the jack of all trades, super hybrid, fits everywhere, everything. He's defensive and offensive, and some heal, and he has some solid melee damage, solid range damage, so. Heroes like that are good. Yeah. You could even consider a hero like Arthas. who scales really well in terms of his slow root capability. Of course, one of his defensive tools is a skill shot, but his aura, if you can just get people stuck in his aura, perma root them and stuff is nice. Stuns are usually a little stronger though, or displacement, or blocks outright rather than just a slowdown, because sometimes they have ways to bypass, jump over people or whatever. So, or displacement of their own to knock people out of position. Maybe they have a Junkrat, which is not uncommon in a dive team given his long range abilities, and maybe he boop mines your Arthas or whatever, zoop out of the way, and like yikes. So Blazes is pretty darn ideal. Yrel super ideal because he just knocks people back and jumps in and soaks up a lot of body blocks, absorbs. You can use Ardent Defender, like no big deal. The Tyrael Sank, I know you've been playing around with Tyrael lately, so he can offlane actually fairly well. His wave clear is meh, but his dueling power is strong, and he can just be obnoxious because he makes it much harder for the enemy offlaner to clear the minions through his shields. So it kind of stalls out the lane. Like he doesn't clear the enemy creeps that well, but he prevents the enemy offlaner from clearing them well, so it evens out. I'd play around with that too if your offlaner could do it, or if you need like you just of course it's time based, right? Tyrael can get knocked out of sync and then you will die. So, but if you're confident in your ability to smash that R button at the right time, half-second cast time, that's a nice way to just absorb a boatload of aggro through sync. Then of course you need to play on the sync timing, so that's also not necessarily the most ideal. Someone with a more basic ability kit to defend could be better. Do it again. How likely do you think it is for a team of our caliber, which is I think around silver gold, a team of our caliber to win with a double support Uther main tank? Would you consider it a high execution comp or just a team identity thing? It's a really good question. For starters, I don't even think you need the double support per se. Absolutely. Anyway, you could just run Uther main tank because he's still a Zabard, he still heals. Of course, the idea there is he's typically healing himself a bunch to stay alive, which is why you have the other support come in. But depending on the matchup, you could just draft a bunch of self-healing heroes along with an Uther who doesn't have to spend all his healing on himself because his W, whatever it's called, pierces, multi-heals. But if he's on the front lines, he has to sort of turn around and cast it. Could be weird. So realistically, you're probably running double support here. I don't think it's high execution. It doesn't really change that much. Honestly, Uther always front lines anyway, at least to an extent. And in this case, he just front lines all the time. The hero's happy to be in the front lines, and in this case, your tank just isn't your average tank, but conceptually it's not that much different. He has a great stun. His stun got buffed, and off that one buff, Uther's win rate jumped, I think, 6% or something insane. Because stuns win games. You just stun people. They can't play the video game when they're stunned. Just no matter how many keys you press, doesn't matter. You can't play. So stuns are good. Stuns are great. Buffing stuns is awesome. So very reliable, low cooldown stun, self heal. He can always you can save a teammate with Divine Shield, or you can engage with a Divine Storm, counter engage. It's actually really conceptually speaking like if you just told someone about tanks and HOTS and mentioned Uther, they go, "Oh yeah, this guy'd be great at it." Makes a lot of sense, actually. He shares a lot of traits with tanks anyway. His health pool is pretty good. Even if he dies, he can still heal people. Obviously, you can't continue the engage, and his damage isn't anything to write home about. You're not going to reach these Diablo levels, like 50, 60k kind of things. But he's very reliable stuns, slow, depending on his talents. Well, if he stuns, but he can talent the hammer to slow and other obnoxious things. And burst heal teammates. So I don't think it's high execution. I think it just changes the way you play a little bit on the front lines. So, but more of a team identity thing. You have to be willing to try something weird, something different, and just understand everything's pros and cons. There's no perfect hero in the game. They all have strengths and weaknesses. So Uther's typical strengths are he can frontline, he has a great stun, he has a lot of burst defense, either on himself or allies, or both. Both his ults, one's a hard save, the other's a hard AoE stun. So you just have to play to his strengths. I don't think it's that high execution, really. Same thing I said earlier to the other questions, just pick somebody who follows up with a combo the stun. throw in a Kel'Thuzad or a Kerrigan or a Chromie or a Raynor Phoenix or whatever, and just shred people off the obnoxious Uther shenanigans. So I don't think it's high execution personally. I don't. Is Li Ming the premier mage for dive comps? Yes and no. She's the best overall mage for dive comps because she's pretty reliable. She has her teleport, she has her combo spells that can be very focused onto one target or with a bit of splash with her orb, clustered targets. But of course, her spells don't penetrate other units other than disintegrate. So, and of course, Calamity technically is AoE, but that's a talent. So, if there's stuff in the way, or the enemy has a way to generate a lot of stuff, extra units, friends, summons, it could be a pain. But overall, yes, we're actually going to hop over to our hero picker. We'll just leave the Diablo here because Diablo's a divey guy. And we're going to look at mages that are good. So, well, this is actually a lot quicker to just type in. So Li Ming's great. Other picks that are very solid is Chromie. She's not as popular these days, but she still has really long range, and her kit's good for dive because her Sandblast does pierce, only hits heroes, and her W is up and over from the sky, can't be blocked. So by unit pathing, whatever. So Chromie's good, but again, the fluidity of Chromie isn't the same as Li Ming's, right? Li Ming's kit is very fluid, in just no matter what she's doing, feels just boom, boom, boom. Chromie a little less so. There's more delays, more travel time, stuff like that going on, but still really strong. Mr. Other Primeval, also really good for dive comps. Not necessarily quite the same way because his dive is more short ranged. His mobility is also tethered, but he has longer inherent mobility with Shade of Mephisto than any of the other mages, or Li Ming. But typically, you need to be closer to the front line already, and or when you shade in, you're only going to be hitting one or two, you're basically going to be hitting the front line, most likely. So it probably depends on the kind of dive team you're running. All in, get to the back line, or just you're happy to always just smash that front line. Mephisto's probably a little more along those lines, but it also depends on the map. Maps with lots of dueling, skirmishing, these, again, Volskaya's Infernal Shrines, where you tend to fight over a point for a long period of time. And there's a decent amount of room to maneuver around. Heroes like Medivh can get a lot of value especially out of his trait and the cooldowns. Azmodan's worth an honorable mention due to his Globe of Annihilation. But very cooldown dependent. Super cooldown dependent. But you stack him, mid-late game and just throw some 1,000 damage nuke on their whole team. It's pretty darn nice. But there's no sustainable. It's an all-in. It's just a one-shot. You're going to get one or two dunks off a fight, off a dive style team. So, Li Ming's the most reliable in a sense, or in that sense. Technically, Nova's considered a mage by Blizzard. She's actually very good with dive teams because she can always hover in her stealth anyway and just annoy people and use her global nuke and stuff. No one picks her, but if you felt like, I'm just being thorough. Is there anyone else? I don't think so. Inherently, who's a mage. We're excluding heroes who actually jump in and dive, your Genjis and whatever. And I think that's it, really. These three, the ones you're looking at on screen, and there's some honorable mentions, like the Azmodan and the Nova. Yeah, that's about it. Soldreth from Throwing Shade. Question, what are some useful hero combos that you think would be relatively easy to get used to and impactful, and what would a full team that would work well with it, specifically basic ability combos or short CD? Sorry, I just have to check my notifications. All right, back to the hero picker. We're gonna move this a little bit. Well, useful hero combos, easy to get. So this is like basically, maybe you're still building your team synergy, your communication. You don't want something really high execution, like to the line, or it all fails. Just you're looking for reliable and straightforward, basically, but also impactful. So high impact, like low, not low skill, but low. I don't know what the word is. Low burden of execution. And what would a full team that would work well with it? Okay, let's just build something on the fly here. Blaze is actually pretty easy these days to maintain, but ever to use them as an example. I really just want to use ETC, even though it's kind of hard to run them these days. I love my Space Cow. We'll go with something that's a little more easier to use. Oh, I don't actually want to be on this side. We're going to run a Nubrak. He's very reliable stuns, or, I mean, okay, they're both skill shoddy, but as long as you aren't super bad. Like, technically, if you miss one, you could theoretically, you still have a follow-up. So he has 2 stuns in his kit, and, web for engages later. Things are, someone's stabbing you, you web them, you go in, you can web an annoying healer or whatever backliner is just screwing with you. Get rid of that. So we're going to go with a Nubrak. Then again, we're going to look for a support that is easy. You can lock people down for a while. I'm actually going to go with Stukov because he just drops silence on people, and silence, again, people can't really play the game, and they can get tied up in Nubrak stuff. This is one example. This is easily multiple variables to this by swapping out all these heroes. We're just going to build a team here. And then we're going to throw on something straightforward, like Jimmy. Where's Jimmy? Let's take us. I don't know my placements of these heroes. Good lord. Alright. So, Raynor can proc off both Nubrak and Stukov, stun and slow, or Nubrak can slow, taking his Beta Barb talents, for example, which I typically do. Stukov, of course, slows with his W. Can benefit Raynor's Executioner. Ace in the hole, I guess, now. But then you still want something more, maybe something to keep people around longer to be hit by Jimmy and Co. So you could just layer on a mage here. And again, this is pretty tanky team. It's pretty basic. Stukov gets slow, then a Nubrak goes in, they're slowed, or a Nubrak goes in, then Stukov gets a slow and the silence, and Raynor's just pew-pewing away. Like, it's pretty low key. This doesn't clear particularly well as a trio, so we're going to need to add some wave clear to this. Kel'Thas would probably be my go-to here, because he has a stun, and he wave clears, and he camps, and he kind of just does a bit of everything. And this team isn't really that diveable either. KT's getting Mana Addict. Raynor has Bullseye plus his own armor. Stukov's usually a bit further back, and he's decently tanky anyway. Nubrak has, mobility in and out. He has web, bunch of stuns, burst shielding, like, pretty decent team, I would say. Doesn't require that high execution. But you probably want to layer in an offlaner who also engages, so it isn't just a Nubrak running in every single time. And if he misses, oh no, what do you do? So, if you wanted to be more aggro, you could throw out a Sonya. Just pretty no-brainer. Just Sonya. Just me hit face, smash. But that doesn't really engage, per se. Obviously, Spear can work, but if you just wanted to just run at people, Sonya's nice. If you wanted to be a little more conservative, you take something like the Blaze, and then you just have his whole kit to work with as well. Off this same thing, he throws out oil, slows. Of course, you could also swap this Blaze main tank, cut the Nubrak, and then someone else is the offlaner. But in this, we're just using this example. If things get really dicey, so bunker. If you don't need bunker, you just go combustion for even extra engage, and slows hurts everyone. Everyone's slowed. It's more targets for Raynor. They stay in silence longer. They're getting hit by Jimmy longer. It's pretty reliable. Good clear. Pretty decent camp power. Like not the best, or it's like in the middle for like boss control. Pretty well rounded for a lot of maps, I'd say. Something like this. I don't think there's no big buttons to press together. Mostly basic ability combos. You did say short CD. Some of Stukov's CDs are a little high, but Kilthos's are pretty darn low. Raynor's are pretty darn low. Anurak's aren't, I wouldn't call them high. They aren't low, but they're not high. Blazes are pretty low, quite low. So overall, I'd call it low to medium CD team. Something like that. So there's no like alt combos here offhand, but you still have synergy together, right? Because you can just take Raynor's Raiders for more damage, either Hyperion for Siege or Bully, like Hyperion plus Phoenix, just total AoE battlefield control, just lay that down, and then fight as well. The enemy's not going to have any fun with that. Both those tools help you siege, both those tools help you anti-siege from these heroes. It's great. You web somebody, they're alone, you can just set up, just drop Stukov, silence around them, and just wait. As soon as they're out of there, you're lifting them with KT and hitting them with Raynor, and stuff like that's pretty easy to do. So there's a lot of synergy here. I just threw this together. But this is what I do if you'd ask me this at the draft screen, and I would have gone like, okay, this, for whatever map. I like something like this. We can look at a completely different draft, which should be kind of a no-brainer, as it were. But I like this team, but we'll build a completely different one off lower cooldowns. Just start with the warrior because that's always easier. But we're gonna go with Arthas. People don't like the main tank him, but I do, so too bad. So he doesn't really have cooldowns, right? Because Aura is one of his main tools, and it's always available as long as he has mana. And of course, his trait, his Frostmourne gives him back mana. That's not too high cooldown. His Q is like 8 seconds, not that high cooldown. His W, like both his Q and W, can be lowered through talents, which are like common talent picks as well. So I think his cooldowns are pretty solid. His alt cooldowns are a little higher, but basic ability kit is pretty strong. This could even be an offlane Arthas, but for now he'll be main. And here is where we're gonna get fun and obnoxious and pick Deckard if I could find him. There he is. Good lord. Because we're doubling down on things. We're doubling down on slows and people being rooted. So both these heroes slow and root. And if one of them gets a slower root, the other one can basically guarantee the follow-up root for much root. You could also throw in White Mane here. Be alright, but we're not going to do that. We're going for just lots of area control stuff. Just blanket. Just throw all the things at people. And then we're going to go something like Gul'dan and Phoenix. Phoenix, where art thou? I thought I saw him earlier. I don't know where he went. There he is. Hi, Phoenix. So here, this is the current 4 stack of this wave clears. Also, this Phoenix can offlane. So this draft is crazy flexible, honestly. This is ridiculously flexible because the Arthas can offlane. The Phoenix can offlane. You could open with this and just try and main tank it, but then if it doesn't look good for whatever reason, then you just throw Arthas in the offlane, or you throw Phoenix in the offlane and just swap. It's super flexible, gives you options. Options are good. This wave clears ridiculously fast, especially if Phoenix is in that 4-man. Just obliterates waves with Gul'dan. Arthas is no slouch either. But it's but you need another melee here, right? So this draft is a little open at this point, and you want another melee style hero to defend, and this can be an offlaner or the 4-man. Again, we're leaving things flexible, but you already have a good mixed damage type. You have a lot of battlefield control. Additionally, beside the Arthas Deckard control, you have Horrify with Gul'dan on top of it, and then you have Salvo. There's so many easy ways to proc Salvo here with Arthas and Deckard together. If you want to get really crazy, you just throw, you just go Sindragosa Arthas instead of Army of the Dead. for even more, just throw all this shit at them and they're just like getting hit by things over and over. But we need somebody melee. Leo's pretty nice here. Um, can cause you just be a real nuisance in their mid and back line with Ghost Walk. Of course, Entomb works pretty well with this team. You could always do the Entomb Phoenix, Meme Beam combo if you wanted Planet Cracker. And Leo, again, as I discussed earlier in another question, has some form of peel actually through Entomb. And he, of course, can slow people with Skelly Swing and whatever. He doesn't mind doing that. But same thing, it's easy to throw in a Yrel here or a Blaze, but I'm trying to pick other things. So I like the Leo. Again, this team's pretty no-brainer. There's Phoenix, very low cooldown. Gul'dan, very low cooldown. Deckard, when he's near to allies, low cooldowns. Arthas, again, low cooldown. Leo, also fairly low cooldown, all things considered. This one's a little map dependent. I don't like Gul'dan on non-rotate maps, personally. So something like a Cursed Hollow would never pick a Gul'dan, but then you swap him out with some other mage. Like a Kel'Thuzad or something here would probably destroy pretty hard because you have such easy ways to just slow people reliably from range. With Phoenix also slows with laser plasma cutter. Leoric also slows. Right, this is a very very heavy slow team. Yeah, hard to escape like the Phoenix Gul'dan damage, and Leoric damage stacks up later with Life Drain and some other things. Arthas, of course, as well. The longer it just sits on people, it's a pain in the bum. I like this team a lot. If you're on a non-rotate map, BOE or Cursed or I don't know Hanamura or something, just nix the Gul'dan and take some other mage who is more performs better outside of rotates. I think this is also pretty no-brainer. Alt synergy is pretty strong. Basic ability kits are low. It's well-rounded. Does a bit of everything. Even if your first is a heavy dive team, Gul'dan's Horrify is one of the best counter-engage tools. Maybe even the best counter-engage tool in the game, just in terms of a single ability. Arguably, it is, I would say. Things like that. So I like this. Just threw together 2 drafts. Again, this is also your hero pools, right? I'm basing this off heroes I would pick and that I like old teammates of mine would play, for example. Or maybe just I expect people to have these heroes in their pool and they would play them or whatever. But I'm basically avoiding anything that requires a bunch of synergy, where you have to hit 1 and 2 and then for 3 to be true. Or no, there's no awkwardness to any of these drafts that I just showed you, in my opinion. There's multiple forms of engage, or at least like 2 different heroes can walk at the enemy team and throw. You have range stuff to throw at the team to slow them down or mess with them, both whether it be damage or CC. Actually, I should have left. I should have left this. I should have just built draft on the other side and left the other draft up. I didn't think of that anyway. I like something like this, so just think, yeah, just basically do what I do. Just think of the heroes really quick. If you need help, pull up a site like this or Hot Slogs, or just go to your quick match screen and just jot down some heroes. What can my team play? Oh, he plays this. Write this down. She plays that. Write that down. And then, write down 2 or 3 heroes. Don't know more than that of what they play. Probably 2's enough in their role, but 3 max. And then just pull up the sheet and start doing what I'm doing. Just make some drafts. And here we are. Choose a map. Boom. We're on Dragonshire, or we're on Infernal Shrines. We're on Volskaya. Looks pretty good. Tomb of the Spider Queen looks very good. This is super dirty for Tomb. Hanamura, probably not. New Garden of Terror, probably okay. Haven't played on it enough, honestly. Blackheart's Bay, pretty solid. BOE, no. Alterac, don't really. It's okay, but I'd probably nix the Gul'dan still for much the same reason. I don't know, it really depends on the enemy comp at this point, because there's so much forced engage on Alterac. over the temples, and very, very sustained engage. Having a sustained mage like Gul'dan is pretty darn nice, where you don't have to worry about his resources. No, oh no, our Jaina or KT's out of mana, we have to leave. Like that's just not gonna happen. So could be great, could be great, but you may also need something more bursty to ensure, like, to guarantee the guard camps, the prisoner camps, whatever. So there's a couple examples. What happened here? I don't know. We'll just leave it at 2. You can always pick my brain for more. In Discord, either publicly or privately, So, but I would do that. Fill out a sheet of what your team plays, 2 or 3 heroes per role, and then just pick easy stuff. What I'm doing here, just make it easy. No, nothing too heavy combo based, like your Kerrigans and your Maevs, where you just things have to go your way, or the game won't go your way. So avoid heroes like that. Avoid like heavy wombo combo ult things where if you just mess up by a quarter second or whatever, a half second. Why is this? Because I scrolled. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Or if you just miss your window by the tiniest amount, it's gonna make all the difference in the world. Don't draft those teams until you have the inherent synergy where it's easy to play them, where you have the communication, where you have the timing, the synergy, the trust, whatever it is, and you just breeze it. You just boom. Avoid that stuff until you've got it down. What are some difficult hero combos that are very impactful? And what would be a full team that would work well with alt and/or basic combos? Okay. Difficult combos? I mean, that's a relative question, right? Based on your skill level, what's difficult? But there is sort of a universally agreed level of difficult execution, I guess, we could look at. I'm not going to do 2 drafts with this one because I'm trying to get through these questions. Difficult? I don't know if you can call it difficult, but okay, well, first of all, we're gonna go, difficult. Where are you at? Diablo. It's just easier. I know the heroes. I'm spending time looking for them. Jaina. Zeratul. Who do we want in support for this? We're going Malf. We're going all in here on the Wombo. Then we're throwing in another melee. Which could really kind of be anything. So many good options. Look at some assassins too. This is like crazy greedy. You could also throw in Kerrigan. This is like insanely greedy. Probably honestly too greedy. Let's not do the carry. You could do a Thrall pretty reasonably. But really you should probably just have a regular warrior of some sort. Even like a Dahaka. For some global and backlining and isolation and whatever. But I'm not even the biggest fan of that. I just don't want to I'm trying to just avoid using the same heroes that I've displayed already. Just go all in with the aggro with Asanya. So she doesn't have any layer of difficulty though. So that's there, okay. So we have Diablo already. Diablo's most likely going APOC. Because Zeratul's initiating every time with the Void and landing it on 2 or 3 targets. Or, okay, I say initiating every time. He either waits for a good Void timing. If he can initiate with the Void, he does. If he can't, then Diablo and Sonya just run in, cause some chaos, the enemy responds to this, then you Void. Then you wait, and then you're using APOC and Ring of Frost to destroy people, and then just as Void ends as well, you're also using Twilight Dream. So you're using four ultimates that have to be timed. So Void's 5 seconds, right? APOC is, I believe, 2.75. Or is it 1.75? Wow, I'm not even sure. off the top of my head. Malfurion, of course, and Jaina have like a 1 second-ish cast time on Ring and Twilight Dream. So essentially, you wait about 4 seconds on Jaina and Malfurion before pressing R. But Diablo has to wait something like 3.5, 3.75. I think 3.75 guarantees it with a 0.25 second wiggle room time. So then, they're just getting hit by stunned and massive burst damage and silence, and they just can't do anything. They just can't do anything. But then you see, this is also gives you more wiggle room. This is where the Sonya comes in. Sonya goes leap instead of wrath if you want, and then if you don't want to burn void for whatever reason, you rip APOC, and then you leap a target. You will guarantee they get stunned by APOC. If for some reason Diablo can't guarantee it himself through his own combos, which is possible. Oh, wait, why isn't Twitch chat is supposed to be here? Why isn't it here? I don't know. I added Twitch chat overlay. It's not working, so we didn't say ankle shot. Medivh stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Ankle shot. Sure. This is just it's the same idea, right? Medivh has his stasis. Crap, I can't remember the name of his ability for some reason. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, but same idea. Leyline seal. Thank you. Oh, there it is. There's Switch chat. Yay! It just shows up for a little bit. That's why, and I wasn't looking. Yeah, it's the same idea. Leyline seal, portal shenanigans. Here I'm using Zeratul Void because it's quicker. Blink Void is instant. There's no way to dodge it. You can't. You just don't. You're just stuck. So it's more reliable. Leyline Seal's travel time can be dodged, can miss. It's pretty hard to miss Void. Like, it's really hard to miss Void. It's not even that hard to miss Leyline. But Leyline won't trap your own dudes, whereas the Void will. So in one sense, it's easier to use. Yeah, but absolutely, Medivh for sure. This is like an old school basic combo, but not necessarily with the Sonya. Sonya can be cut for just any other melee hero who has some damage or stun or whatever. Doesn't really matter who. What matters is the other four. But even then, you can cut the Diablo and just have like a Muradin or something. You just want more stuns as soon as Void ends. More stun, more slow. APOC's better because it's hitting everybody, including people outside of Void, making them Delta Split as well or get hit. So it's pretty darn ideal. This is probably like the ideal combo. And Jaina, of course, Ring of Frost, really easy to just blanket Ring of Frost Blizzard on top of the Void is really good. But why this is difficult is because a lot of people will screw up the timing on Void, and they'll ruin APOC, they'll ruin Ring of Frost, and any Twilight Dream or whatever other crap you're throwing out there. I see. I've been seeing it ever since I started playing the game, because these four heroes have been in the game, forever. So actually, I think all five of these heroes have been in the game for almost forever. So, and there's a lot of other ways to get janky. We're throwing in Valeras or trying to do some cute stuff with D.Va, or some other globals. We're doing things like Brightwing bombs with Genji and Brightwing into, some other Junkrat boop mine shenanigans. There's all sorts of things. There's teams that can split fight all over the place. There's teams who all together wombo combo. There is, like, Stitches is actually a fairly high execution team comp inherently. It doesn't seem like it, but it is, because it's not that hard to get good hooks, but it's hard to get good follow up, because most of it is delayed. Like with Malfurion, you have to precast his root on the ground, or targets will just walk out of it, for example, stuff like that. So, well, this is a wombo combo. Basic combos, I'm probably gonna have to pass off that question maybe till a little later. I think we still have a bunch of questions to look through. Actually, let me see. I'm not sure. Oops, my question thingy reset. Rude. Why are you? There we go. Where were we? We were here. So I didn't really do basic combos. Basic combos would probably be more combo-based heroes. Basically Kerrigan and Kel'Thuzad. Maiev. Who else? Valeera. Those four. Who else? Or you want to do some like, those aren't combos. Never mind. I'm thinking like global macro strats. Um, Illidan strats are actually kind of hard to pull off. You either run like 4 protect 1 or like multi dive. Actually requires quite a bit of skill to play off, and that's not really, that's a lot of like auto attacky stuff typically, not necessarily pressing a lot of buttons together. Um, you could do some other things. I don't know. Basic ability combos, mostly just combo heroes. There's like 4 to 5 of them offhand. Alarak as well. So here, let's just throw them up on the screen. Where'd you go? We have our Alaraks. We have our Kerrigans. We have our Maevs. We have our Kel'Thuzad. I had a fifth one. No, I'm even forgetting who I said. Valeera. These 5 are like very combo heavy. Okay, Kel'Thuzad and Alarak can like a lot of these heroes in a sense can combo themselves, but typically they require multiple one or more heroes to follow them up very consistently and or set up for them, or the enemy team will just dodge or get away or whatever. So, but you play around these heroes with your squad with 3 to 4 extra heroes, and they can really just destroy all life. But this is a lot of basic ability stuff. Of course, the ultimates are another thing, but just on a basic ability level, these heroes require quite a bit of coordination, a very keen understanding of the individual player on the limits of these heroes, particularly the melee ones, which is 4 out of 5 of them here. Very important. Kel'Thuzad doesn't have melee limitations, obviously. We really need to know their cooldowns and how they move and their cast time and their delays and all this kind of stuff, or you can really whiff. And a lot of these heroes are feast or famine. Kerrigan is, Alarak is, Kel'Thuzad a little bit, Maiev not so much. Valeera again depends on how good they are dealing with their stealth. Something like this, but we're not going to get into full drafts because it's getting late and I have work tomorrow. So we're going to hop on to, oh my goodness, I'm sorry I wasn't on the hero picker. My bad. I'm getting tired. Alright, here we go. I picked these heroes. And this is a follow-up question by DeWitt after seeing Zeldris. Would you ever draft a team solely based on their ultimate combo capabilities? Cooldowns and early game issues seem to make life a lot harder if you aren't basing your composition on basic abilities. That's true. You just saw me, per Zeldris question, draft a Wombo combo team. The Diablo, Zeratul, etc. example. So yes, because they also have basic ability synergy as well. What do we have? Diablo, Malf, Jaina, Zera, and then I picked Asanya as well, but that could be whatever. Malf's decent follow-up for Diablo, Jaina as well, and Zeratul, same thing, can always just blink in and out of fights. So here's the thing: you don't just draft them for their ultimate capabilities. You draft them for their basic and their ultimate capabilities. Then you're covered. Then the whole early game issue thing. Because it's true, you will make your life extremely hard, and you'll just sort of sit back and lose the game until level 10, and then hope to win. Cho'Gall drafts are a little bit like this because they tend to be, or can be, fairly susceptible pre-10. So sometimes you just have to chill and like, or just wait. As soon as we hit 10, like it's go time. We're good. Don't worry about it. So some teams will function that way, even though they aren't combo based, more like Bombo combo. Just sort of the nature of the win condition demands I hit level 10 or 10 to 13 to 16, whatever. So, but yes, I can't remember who I was talking this at some of the caster group, Professor Bobo and all them. Just making life easier early game. Why win later when you could win sooner, kind of a thing. Or at least make sure you don't just get too far behind earlier, because then by the time you are in line, you've already lost half the map, or you're 2 levels behind, or some nonsense like that. So yeah. But your question is solely based on their ultimate combo capabilities, so I would say no. I didn't really answer your question properly till now. I would say no. And then segue into everything I just said. What is a good team for Garrosh, and what are some solid picks to put him with? I think we kind of sort of answered this already earlier, but that's okay. We'll go look at it again. Garrosh. Where's Angry War Chief? And there he is. Hey, Garrosh. So, what is a good team for Garrosh, and what are some solid picks to put him with? Right, because we had Dwit's question about engage, like with Garrosh. That's what I was thinking of. So, a good team for Garrosh typically is you want somebody who can follow up off his taunt. Like you want burst typically, almost not exclusively, but you want some burst in the draft. But in terms of, we're gonna again look at supports. Tank support, we always go this way. Brightwing's really really good because you just instantly poly people and then they just die. It's amazing. Brightwing's super good. The classic combo, which even the pros use, is Malfurion, and then they just throw on something like a Jaina, and it's just flip, stun, root, blizzard. That typically kills just about anything. Um, but it doesn't have to be a Jaina. Um, Mages are nice with Garrosh, typically because also off of Warlord's Challenge, the taunt, you want to just spit damage at people. But if you don't mind going a little more of a single target approach, Mr. Greymane, pretty darn solid with Dark Flight and go for the throat and or Curse Bullet and whatever you want to do there. So you could layer on like a Greymane and a Mage, or like a Phoenix is pretty decent. A Rainer, your usual. Lunara, not so much. You don't pick a bunch of slow damage. And don't make the mistake of picking something like Garrosh and a Chromie, because then Chromie basically never has any lockdown for her spells and has to 100% rely on skill shots head to Z, right? You like don't Garrosh's life won't be hard, but Chromie's life will be really hard in this instance. So don't do something like that. I've seen teams do that and just struggle because the enemy's just running around and dodging Chromie all the time, and Garrosh can't engage. Don't do that. So I did say a mage, but I'm talking more of a Kelp, a Leeming, really like Jaina Kilthos are probably the best outright. Kilthos again can follow up with a lift. Jaina just has a bunch of slow power, so things like that. Gul'dan, meh, pretty meh. Leeming, not that great either. So a couple of the mages are strong. Rainer, Greymane, Phoenix are really nice. Something more bursty AA wise. Avoid slow AA like Lunara. You want to kill targets quickly. If you want to get also really dirty, you throw in something like an Alarak in your 4-man, and just same idea. They get thrown back and just comboed by Alarak, or vice versa. Alarak can suck them in, silence them. Garrosh gets on top of them, tosses them. They have both can sort of engage depending on what's going on. Is pretty nice. So I think Swell picks. So Alarak's a little bit high skill cap, so we'll avoid him for the moment. And also, a lot of people just don't play the hero at all. So we're gonna grab Kill. Tychus isn't bad. Same thing. You just go minigun. Grenade can help boot people around, knock them back, etc. He has a dash, so he can engage or chase people a little bit if he has to, or whatever. Or if he's further away from the Garrosh, he can dash in and then use his abilities, stuff like that. Then of course you're going to need an offlaner who helps. You want to get really funky, get something like a D.Va, because you can just, you isolate one target and she just zones out the rest of their team, and or she boops people into your team. Then you have mech, which no one wants to sit in. Garrosh can taunt people, force them, throw them back into mech, explosion, all this kind of fun stuff. Kale, lift, malfruit, grenade. Like there's a lot of ways to keep them in mech if you want to be janky. Blaze, of course, is just sort of everywhere, fits anywhere. Zarya doesn't really help this team per se, though she can take the speed talent on her shields, ally shield, and then boost Garrosh's initiation speed and stuff. But this is a little unreliable, so not the best. The Hawk is decent, but again, not the most reliable. Mal'Ganis, of course, would be stupidly dirty, but it's hard to get him. But if you could, but again, then he's off lane, so it's a little meh. But something like this, you get the idea, right? Grab some burst, grab some lockdown, and grab another form of engage, which is why I showed off the Alarak. Blaze is solid, Urel is solid. I guess like a Taunt variant's okay, but a little meh. You could always just throw some Arthas, Johanna in the off lane, a Nubrak, Tyrael, or Tannis may be okay, but you have to be really good with your swaps. And if you're really good at your swaps, then it's probably fine. But those are, again, positionally speaking, not necessarily reliable, so yeah, probably something, just something typical like this. And same thing we talked about earlier. Blaze is throwing out oil spills and stuns and whatever. Let's Garrosh get in there. The other team get in there with their stuff. Something like that, I would say. Just like the main tenets of a Garrosh draft. Don't make him the only engage. Have one other hero to help, either from range or melee. And have burst. It doesn't have to be every single one burst, but somebody needs to be bursty. Whether it's percentage damage, whether you have executes, people will even run Malthael with last rites. You just get them to half and then execute them and they're dead. Barring a couple specific saves. Stuff like that as well. You can be a little creative. You could run Murky and throw him back into a Octograb. Whatever, just... point is just kill them within the duration they're like flipped, stunned, rooted, slowed, or taunted, and body blocked. Like, make sure your time to kill is within that time frame, which is typically 4 to 6 seconds, let's say. Maybe 8 if they're a non-mobility hero. But on average, it's something like 4 to 6. So just make sure you can kill your targets, even a tank, in that time frame. So you could, I showed off Brightwing because of Poly and Malf. You can also just go miss arrows because then same thing. You always guarantee the stun off Garrosh, and then you damage amp them, and then you kill them faster. So stuff like this. Would you say that it is generally better to draft your tank late? Many tanks lean into a certain archetype and seem to give away more information typically than other roles. I don't think that's true about giving away more info because tanks are very flexible almost entirely. Other than, you pick very specific ones like Stitches, and it's like, okay, well, they're going to pick Stitches-based follow-up for sure. Otherwise, who cares? So you pick Stitches first, well, then maybe they pick or ban Malfurion or something, So, in that sense, yes, but it's probably more of a team identity thing at that point. I don't agree with it because you can get tank choked pretty easily. There's typically anywhere between 2 to 4 like super strong meta tanks in a given time. I don't ascribe to that you need them, but they could make your life easier. But maybe you don't care and that's fine because you have a particular plan in mind. But to me, when you don't draft your tank to say the 4th or 5th pick, I say pick it in the 1 to 3. Like, if I'm drafting and I'm running a team, guaranteed it's in the 1 to 3 pick. Typically in the 2 pick. Max the 3rd if for some reason just we have a particular duo opener we want because we're 2nd pick. And then the tank shows up 3rd. But I want to set a certain pace for myself. Like every hero pick gives something away to the enemy because you can't avoid that. But in terms of like the psychological aspect of what it does to the enemy when okay they picked a Garrosh or they picked a Muradin, well, it's the defensive aspect. Like if you just pick a bunch of squishies, they're just probably going to run a dive team, right? You're inviting a certain playstyle from the enemy by not picking a tank, and it lets them again tank choke through bans or picks themselves. Run some double, they grab 2 warriors, ban 2, suddenly you're out 4. What are you going to pick, So, not advisable in my opinion. Doable. Anything's doable as long as you understand. If you have a particular idea to pick a tank later, that's fine. Especially if it's a lower priority one that no one really picks up, like Tyrael or Anubrak or whatever. Though Anubrak's gained a little more popularity, but still. You can hold it to your 4th or 5th if you want. And really, especially if it's something like BOE and you really want to secure race style heroes, your Greymanes, your Hanzos, your Lei Mings, your Valas, Sure, don't open with a tank. Go pick that in your third to fourth. That's very map specific. You want to set a certain pace for your own team and the enemy by picking a warrior in the 2 to 3. In my opinion, I think that's best practice. I think the pros far outweigh the cons in terms of what it might give away. That's my take on it. Um, because otherwise they have free reign to pick what they want. Because then you're reacting to them, right? You've shown your squishies, your back line, and they can just do whatever they want. Because until you pick your front line, that's what limits them typically in what they want to do, is frontline heroes. There's obviously some ways to do that with backline, especially on heroes like Junkrat or whatever who can screw with people from range, but or Medivh or what have you. But by and large, it's the front line who's dictating this tempo and dictating the movements of the enemy consistently, largely just through positioning and posturing, and of course through abilities. So, in my opinion, no. Like I wouldn't say it's generally better. I think it's generally worse, a lot worse, personally. Um, for the draft choke reasons, for the way it incentivizes the enemy team to play, and that at a point you might be forced to pick a warrior you don't want to, based on their composition, because you have to at this just because of what you've already picked. Blah blah. I think it's too reactionary. That's just my opinion. My opinion isn't absolute or always right. And of course, it's biased by the way I like to play the game and the tools I like to secure earlier in the draft for myself and the team. So at the end of the day, it just needs to make sense. Even if you're picking your tank late, just as long as it ties into your team, makes sense with your team, whatever you're doing there, then I think it's fine. Um, but I'd say around, just keep it in the middle. If you don't want to pick it up in your first two, then grab it in your third. Don't like waiting to your fifth's weird because you're already typically picking your off laner fourth or fifth. At least of course, some people pick them up front, but these days, Irel and Blaze aren't really the hot nearly as much as they used to be anyway. So I like flex pick. I like leaving my last picks to be flex, fourth, fifth. I want a flex pick in the off lane. I want a flex pick in my range damage usually, or just damage. And you want more AA, you want more combo, you need more camp, you need more clear, you need more burst, you need more sister. Like if you're leaving your last slot to your warrior, like late fourth pick, you're really you can't not pick a warrior. I guess unless you're doing some Uther comp like you mentioned. But then he's your tank replacement anyway, so I don't recommend it. I think it's too. I think it's too limiting. I think it puts you in a weird. I think it can put you in a very awkward position, draft wise. Could become unideal. And of course, the big question from Tanker. Forgot about this question actually. What is my favorite soda? Probably root beer, though ginger ale is really good. I guess it depends on the occasion. Like root beer to me isn't like a regular drink. Like I'd have ginger ale just commonly or with a meal or whatever. Root beer to me is more of like a party or a special event thing or with pizza or something. But since you can also make root beer floats, I think root beer makes a really good argument, especially with just whatever vanilla ice cream or whatever you like. Obviously, super delicious. So probably root beer, but probably depend on the event. And then we're back to the beginning. So that's gonna wrap it up for the stream. Actually, don't even know how long I've been streaming. Teehee. An hour-ish something. So I think there's some decent questions and examples here. Some decent conceptual stuff about drafting and why you're drafting certain things and why certain things are good. So one of my main goals, like for example with the drafting guide based on this question that'll be incoming, is to try and impart the because the way the way you've just seen me throw drafts together, I think fairly quickly on stream, is because I'm using my conceptual knowledge of the game. I don't learn heroes really. I learn the concept of a hero class, and I use that to inform my opinion of a given hero. For example, for Mal'Ganis, for Orphea. Though I haven't given my Orphea thoughts yet. Of course, she's on. I'll give that more in release. I've already had the thoughts right away, but I wanted it to be more fresh when the hero is like actually playable, or just before. Because I comprehend the how and why of a hero's job, what they're supposed to be doing in a given match, and how that can change based on context and matchup and map and whatever, whether you're winning or losing, ahead or behind. So you've heard me talk about puzzle pieces, and I said that in another stream, maybe my last one. Here are all the puzzle pieces, all the hero picks. So, you just learn why things are good, learn why things are bad, learn why certain heroes are really good on one map and not on another, and why they're really good in this one composition but bad in another. Right? Learn these details. Fill your brain with this knowledge if you're the drafter for your team, or you're just some Hero League warrior or whatever, and things will be more obvious. You won't need to wait for my opinion or a pro opinion to understand if Mal'Ganis is good or Orphea is good, or where will they be good, how will they be good. You can answer the question for yourself because you'll have the knowledge. Okay, okay, well, they're a warrior, they're a frontliner, and this is their kit, and this is what they can do, okay, and this is what they'll be weak to, and this is what they'll be strong with. Like, you can just look at the game and know yourself after a short analysis, and maybe go play the hero once or twice, and then go, oh, okay, here are the talents and the extra little details. Some heroes are very talent dependent, some heroes are not. Mal'Ganis is like super non-talent dependent. He's like talent proof, almost. Like 90%, 99% or something. Super, like, doesn't really matter. He still has some talents that are better than others, but for the most part, you just play the hero. Orphea, on the other hand, will be fairly talent dependent, and like her talents drastically change what she can do, or the kind of impact she'll have, or what kind of ability will be the most impactful. Drastically changes on her talents. For just to give you a quick example, I'll get into all that in like an actual Orphea commentary video some other time. But the point is, don't just learn a hero. If you're a tank player, don't just learn Garrosh and learn Muradin. Learn what is tanking. Why is tanking? Why are you tanking? How should you be tanking? How does the context change? When do you engage? When do you defend? When do you peel? Where should you be positioned? Why should you be positioned there? Etc. Etc. And this goes per role, per support, for range damage, melee damage, off lane. Use all this stuff to inform. Doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter what hero you're playing. It should only matter what your main job is in a given match. And you use that info to then make your best decisions. And you'll make a lot more smarter decisions, and you won't have to sit around wondering or asking all your teammates what you should be doing, because you'll know, kind of a thing. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, wrap up the stream. What do we got here? Cool Mal'Ganis pick. It's kind of too late for this. I was going to go over some pro draft stuff from HGC. Spoiler alert, but HGC's been over. And why just based on the drafts, like, never mind that I can see who won. Even if I couldn't, I largely, not with 100% accuracy, but fairly high accuracy, predict who would win anyway based on the draft, just on paper. And the kind of things. Okay, here's just one really. Okay, I'm going to do one quick example. And that was with. Where are you? Which map was it? It was Liquid versus Genji. Yeah. And it was this one here, Infernal Shrines. It's like, okay, win-win, okay, yeah, well, whatever, I'm skipping all these. Yikes, mega white screen here. And this is the problem right here. Deckard, good, Infernal Shrines. Hanzo, okay, why not? Not my favorite for Infernal, but it's not bad. Johanna, absolutely, terrific. Top pick on Infernal Shrines, 100%. Malthael on his own, fine. Sonya on her own, fine. Also fairly, Sonya I'd say is a bit of a stronger standalone pick. Then wait a minute, both these heroes together, what face? Of course they lost. Like, I looked at this draft and 2 seconds later went, wow, of course, this is why they lost. On paper. I didn't watch the game. Maybe they lost for some other reason, but like, because they're pros and they all have an idea of what they're trying to do. I don't know better. I'm not saying I know better than them. That I'm a better player or drafter. Like, they obviously have a very specific idea. Whoops, wrong click. Of what they're trying to do with this draft. And maybe if I watch the game, I'd go, oh yeah, this is what they're trying to do. Offhand, I don't really know. But what I do know is you're using 2 heroes to fill 1 slot. Sonya and Malthael do the exact same thing in this game. They have the same function. And you're using up 2 heroes to perform that same function. So then you're kind of playing 4v5. And both these heroes are squishy. You have 4 squishies and 1 tank in this draft, and they have a Yrel, Tyrael, Kerrigan, Gul'dan, Tyrande. You're just food. Your entire team's food on paper. Maybe they got a bunch of kills. I don't know. I didn't watch the game, but if you were to just feed me drafts and say Ripper who would win, or if there was some sort of auto resolve mechanic like in Total War Warhammer, like this team would win. Like there's no reason they shouldn't win, played correctly. And this team, I don't even really see how they win. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But obviously it made sense to Gen G and they had an idea. I don't know what the idea is, but just this is kind of like making your game too hard, your life too hard, like we talked about earlier. There's it's just too redundant. It's just no. That's just one example, and I'm not going to get into the others, but maybe some other stream. But just don't make your life too difficult. Play around. Experimentation is good. You should experiment. You should push the limits of your drafts, your hero pools, your ideas. Not every single game all the time, every practice, every scrim, every tournament, but you should with semi regularity at least push yourself out of your comfort zone a bit because you can discover new things. You can learn new stuff, what you like, what you don't, what you're good at, what you aren't. But you can almost always find really cool stuff to add to your bank, your wallet, your roster, whatever, your hero pool, your team strats. Grab some surprise picks, pocket picks, cheese strats, whatever you want to call them. Like just play around with it a bit. Don't be afraid to experiment. And that'll wrap up the stream. Thank you very much for watching. Most of you probably on VOD, but thanks to Ankleshot. Shout out to Ankleshot. Showed up in the chat. Help me out with some Medivh talent names. Appreciate that. And as ever, if you want to hear me yak about stuff on stream, get in the Discord and drop a question in stream #streamlearning -learning. You can also email me at ripperhots@gmail.com. Take questions there, or of course live questions in the chat. Also ready for those. So thanks everyone. Good night. Have a good weekend. Rest of your weekend, and I will see you soon enough for another stream.